Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast where we talk about the struggles of staying healthy in this modern, fast paced world. I'm Tiffany Sims, your nutrition and high performance coach.
And I'm Chelsea Scroggins, your yoga teacher and motivational speaker.
Hey, we
And
were just having a chit chat about a girls' weekend, and we're going to bring you in on the second half of it. I hope you enjoy. I think the reason why our relationship is so powerful, and also on all of the spectrums, the healthy side and the unhealthy side,
Mhm.
is because we are all three very different types of humans.
That's very true. And we're all
Not
strong.
one of us are the same.
That's
Not
very
in the
true.
way we see the world, not in the way we interact with the world, not in the way we present ourselves. Like we are so different and at the same time, like you like
Mhm.
similar, you know? And so I
It's
think
true.
that clash there. No, this is what girlfriends do. And I was like, I never had friends like this growing up. And
Yeah,
she's
I
like,
mean,
oh my God, anytime you get together with a group of girls, like this happens. It's how
it's
it
true.
works. And I was like,
She's
well, this
right.
is horrible. This is horrible. I don't like that. I don't want that.
But it's
Like,
not gonna
I
be
can't.
like that every time. Like I said, we were all kind of like our tones were throwing each other off because I know my tone was throwing all y'all off. You were like, this, you know what? And I feel like there was a lot of tension because of that too. Like, and then also, like you said, we're all different in the way, and this was our first time. Like, we'll start to learn each other. The more you hang out, the more you come together, the more you learn each other, the more you're like, okay, she needs her space in the morning, she needs that afternoon break. Like, you'll start to learn each other. Like, that's just how it works. And she's right. Like, this is how girls are.
Well, that's crappy.
Well, it
I don't
can
know
be
that I
shitty
feel like I missed
sometimes.
out anymore. Like, when I was a kid, I thought that I was missing out because I didn't have a group of girlfriends. And now to realize that that's how girlfriends are, I'm like, maybe I didn't miss anything. That sounds miserable.
It's true. I mean, you might have had a little more peace because it can get catty, like, and you're like, "Oh, I can't." And so then I just remove myself. Like, when it gets I'm like, I just go to a different, like, just shut down. I guess I shut down in a way. I'm like, "Okay, I like, no more," because I get ready to fight, and, like, it's not good for
Yeah.
anybody that I wanna fight, you know what I mean? Like, like, "You wanna go? No, we don't need to fight," like, and that's my mechanism, and, some, they start crying, and some, they're just like like, we all just have these different emotions that we're like, "Okay," and then finally one person will come and be like, "Let's hug it out." Like, that's yeah, that's how it works. She's right on
Well,
that.
something I learned that weekend, and for me, it was when I was talking with our friend, and it was that she kept saying like, "That's not what I said," and totally respect that. And what I learned about myself is that my brain somewhere it receives the message, it
Mhm.
puts it in, and then it fills in the blanks to make the story make sense to me, and then that's where the conversation goes, right? And so
And mine does the same thing.
um learning that, just recognizing that, I was like, how do I stop that? Because as soon as I articulated it, she was like, that's exact, and like she softened a little bit because she was like, that's exactly what happened. And I was like, how do I fix that? And she was like, I don't know. And so like so we were able to talk about it a little bit of like that, like keyword of like, hey, you're doing it, rather than that instant defense of you're not listening, that's not what I
Right.
said, you're putting words in my mouth. uh
Right.
if
But to
like
be very fair, though, there is certain people that ask our opinions and, like, for the help and what to do, and so we're automatically that for them all the time instead of like, "Oh, turn it off here and then on here," and that's, like, probably why you do that, because you're filling in the blank and thinking that, you know, they're needing reassurance or, you know what I mean, your input on it, and I think that's why we do what we do. And one thing I will say, in one of the breakout groups that I was in, I think it was in August, so 2 months ago now. Gosh, can you believe that? That's crazy. But she was talking about counseling for marital counseling. And what her counselor taught her was, or therapy, whatever, taught her was she has to sit her husband down, say what she said. He has to repeat exactly what she said to make sure he heard it correctly, because like you were saying, you hear things and you may process it differently than what they're trying to perceive it as coming out. And then what he had to do after that was go sit down and like think on what it is that she had said, and then they come back later on, whether that's 5 minutes, an hour, next day, and then they have the conversation. So that might help if you just
Three-way communication.
repeat exactly what they say, then you're both on the same page, but
Yes,
I don't know.
and I will add an and there.
Mhm.
Repeating the same exact words, the intention of the story still is the same in my body.
Mhm.
Um,
Correct.
you know what I mean? There
Mhm.
you can say the same, you and I can make the same sentence word for word and it have a completely different meaning.
Correct. That's very
And so
true.
part of that is learning the people around you, especially maybe when they're different than the people you've been around before, and
Mhm.
starting to learn more of their story and who they are to know like when they say this, that, or the other, it has this specific meaning, not
Mhm.
this meaning that maybe it meant to somebody else. That was
Right.
very vague and confusing, but I think you know what I'm saying. Um,
Well, it just okay, so to just bring it in perspective, in different languages, the same word can mean several different things, and it has to do with the tone they said it, the context in which they said it, the setting in which they said it, right? So it all means that one word can mean seven different things depending on how they said it, when they said it, where they said it. And
correct.
that's the
And the
same with English.
context, the context of what we were talking about when it was said.
Correct. So, and English is no different, even though we have the definition for each and every word we have. It's how you said it, when you said it, and where you
Yes.
said it is what you really
Yes.
meant.
And sometimes, and this is not excusing my responsibility for the specific example. Um, there's a lot of times where you are word someone's body language, like you were saying, body language, tone, all of that goes into the English dialect in
True.
storytelling. And sometimes you respond to the underlying stories, and that person that you're talking with is like, that's not what I said, and they get defensive. However, it is exactly what they said and exactly what they meant. Sometimes they know it and it feels uncomfortable to be called out on it. And sometimes they don't know that that's actually what was happening until later. And then they're like, God damn it, they were right. Like, how many times has that happened to you where you might get in an argument with Auburn and later you're like, he was right. That is
It will,
actually what was going on.
which is, it's happened to me more than just that occasion, but that stems back from reaction versus setting your intention for the day. You're more reactive when somebody comes to you with corrective criticism or says something that you're like, no, that can't be what you mean, or whatever. You're just more reactive instead of being like, let me just think about this for a second, and is this right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I've done that though. And then you have to come back and be like, you were right, because it's the hardest thing that you'll have to do, but you got to do it. You got to give credit where credit is due. And it can be hard. It's
Yeah.
actually very hard to give credit where credit's due, especially when you think you're so right and they're
Your
so wrong. And in
ego, that
reality,
ego is a
mhm,
hard thing to master sometimes
it's true.
because
But
it's
that
like,
takes emotional intelligence. And once you start to gain that emotional intelligence, it's way easier to let go of that ego. It's
yes.
still hard though, but it's way easier than before.
So with that, this week's episode of Two Humans Talking was about the emotional well-being of our relationships. And the mental energy that sometimes goes into having healthy relationships. It's not always easy in the moment. I really hope that you enjoyed the episode. I hope that it spoke to you in the ways that you needed to be spoken to today. And
Yeah.
with two humans talking, have a great week, guys.
All right. Bye.